Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Corporate Sustainability Week 2. And I'm Syeda, and in today's session, we will explore the five capitalist model and look into the key framework to understand how organization can achieve sustainability throughout economic thinking. We will also connect this to the concept like corporate care, economic sustainability, as well as stakeholder management. So last week, we talked about understanding sustainability as well as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the future generation. So this week, we will take that further and we will look into sustainable development isn't just about the environment, but it is also about continuous improvement in quality of life that can be maintained over time. So if you think of ensuring the development of today's that does not limit tomorrow's opportunity, for example, like countries investing in renewable energy, they are not just reducing the emissions, but also creating jobs as well as economic development. If you look into the perspective of economic, sustainability is not about how we use the scarce resources efficiently, but it is also while considering the social environmental cost as well. So, economic growth, the social progression, as well as the environmental protections are interdependent, and we cannot have one without the other. For example, a company like Tesla that promotes growth and innovation, so while addressing the social processes throughout the clean energy solutions. If you look into understanding sustainability, this also depends on at least maintaining or increasing the stock of certain capital, also known as assets, so that we can leave off the income that's being derived and use this the capital without deleting it or removing it from the planet. So if you look into the five capitalist concept of sustainable, it is comprised of natural capital, human capital, social capital, manufactured capital, as well as financial capital. So this all depends on increasing the natural or the human capital that we currently have, and together they form the framework for assessing the organization total with, but not just in terms of finance, but in terms of like human, the environmental, as well as the social value too. So business that balances all five of these tend to create the long-term resilience. If you look into the diagram over the slides, here it's discussed how each of these factors contribute towards this model. If we look into understanding depth of each one of these capital, natural capital, this includes all the environmental resources like mineral, land, water, the biodiversity we have, and these are finite and non-renewable in many cases. So when companies like example Coca-Cola invest in water stewards programs. So they are trying to preserve the natural capital. So this is also ensuring that their production process do not deplete the local ecosystem. If you look into the next factor, which is human capital, also referred as people, right? Their knowledge, their skill set, as well as the health. So organization enhances it through education, training, well-being initiatives. For example, if you look into Google employees, right, development and wellness program, this increases their productivity and creativity. If you look into the next one, which is the social capital, so this, on the other hand, involves trust, relationship, and networking. So that helps you hold your communities as well as organizations together. So companies that foster collaboration, for example, like John Lewis, with its employees' ownership model. So this helps them build strong social capital. If you look into the next factor, that's the manufactured capital, right? So this is where it covers more of the physical assets like machinery, building infrastructure that the business own essential for their production. If you look, for example, like Toyota's lean management strategy, so this helps you maximize the efficiency as well as reduce waste. If you look into the next factor, which is the financial capital, this represents the value, right? But it is kind of different. It is not only value in terms of the intrinsic worth, but this also helps you measure other capitals and sustainable business, like investing, reinvestment of financial capital, to enhance human as well as natural capital. So this is not only just increasing your profit. If you look into the corporate relation of these five models, so if you look from the perspective of a boardroom, the traditional focus would have been on financial, or it can be on manufactured capital, which is profit and assets. But this often extends to social and environmental cost as well, because the five capital model encourages managers to consider how all departments contribute to sustainability, from being the HR developing the human capital to procurement, ensuring that all the ethical supply chain management is being executed. If you look into, for example, like IKEA's procurement and team, they work very closely with the supplier to ensure that sustainable sourcing are being practiced within the organization. If you look in terms of economic sustainability, this involves balancing kind of between short-term and long-term profit and developmental goals of the business. However, firms often fall into the trap of satisfying the immediate needs that they need in terms of the expense of the future. For example, if you look into the fast fashion brands, many prioritize on low cost over the environmental welfare. And this creates a challenging shift in terms for short-term profit seeking to creating an economic and social value. When we look into a short-term satisfaction, this at times come with a lot of cost. This cost can be non-economic cost as well as non-tangible benefits. If you look into CSR, for example, corporate social responsibility, this deals in terms of liabilities and risk management, incorporating the agenda of corporate social responsibility and sustainable development. This often impact the reputation of the stakeholders, reducing the customer demand, the staff recovery ability as well. At times, this also impacts the energy supply as well as cost. It contributes towards waste disposal as well, competitors being more innovative, and in terms of long-term environmental risk, at times the raw management supply is at risk, and there are chances of losing the supporting society and infrastructure. If you look into understanding stakeholders as well and their contribution as well, stakeholders are anybody who are impacted by or affected by any decision that the organization is undertaking. So if you kind of merge corporate sustainability or corporate social responsibility with stakeholders, this would include that stakeholders who are being neglected or that they find it engaging with stakeholders is often essential because Neglecting them can lead to a black backlash, while also engaging them can more lead to enhancing the reputation and trust among them. If you look into example for like Unilever, its collaboration with all the farmers and the NGOs, this promotes the sustainable growth for them, and this leads to a win-win situation for all the parties associated. Okay, thank you for listening. This leads to the end of week 2 session. Thank you.